The sun on the alien planet was dim and orange, hanging low over the thick forest where the human explorer named Jack had crash-landed. Smoke still drifted from the wreckage of his small scout ship. The communicator was dead. The emergency beacon was broken. His oxygen tank was low, but the air here was breathable, at least for now. He grabbed his backpack and flashlight and walked away from the wreckage. His boots sank slightly into soft moss, and strange bird-like creatures chirped in the trees. Jack wasn't afraid. He had survived worse before. But what he didn't expect was what he saw next. In the clearing ahead, a pale blue-skinned woman knelt in the grass. She was holding a small child tightly to her chest. The child wasn't moving. Jack stopped, not wanting to scare them. "Hey," he called gently. "I'm not here to hurt you." The woman looked up fast. Her eyes were wide and glowing faintly, filled with panic. She said something in a language Jack couldn't understand. But her expression said everything. She was desperate. Jack slowly walked closer and pointed to the child. "Is she sick?" The woman nodded quickly. She tried to speak again, then reached behind her and pulled out a scanning device. She ran it over the child's small body, then held it up toward Jack. To his surprise, the device began to translate. The screen showed a message. "Child dying. Blood mismatch. No cure. Need new blood type." Jack's brow furrowed. "What kind of blood do you need?" She didn't answer with words. Instead, she scanned Jack. The scanner lit up green. Her eyes filled with tears. Jack didn't know what species she was. He didn't know how compatible their biology really was. But the child in her arms was turning gray. She didn't have time. "I'll do it," Jack said, kneeling beside her. "Try it. Take my blood." The woman hesitated. She looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of doubt. When she found none, she reached into a small case and pulled out a needle-like device. She pressed it gently into his arm. A moment later, her scanner beeped again. His blood was entering the child's system. Then they waited. Minutes passed. The child stirred. Jack could hardly believe his eyes. The little girl took a deep breath, then coughed, then opened her eyes weakly. The woman let out a sound between a sob and a laugh. She hugged her daughter tightly and looked at Jack with pure gratitude. He smiled. "Glad I could help." She led him to a nearby shelter, a small hidden dome built into the rocks. Inside, the air was warmer and filled with the scent of herbs. She motioned for him to sit while she placed her daughter on a soft sleeping mat. Jack looked around. Everything was clean but simple. The technology looked old, like it had been used for generations. There were no other people around. It seemed this woman was living alone with her daughter. When she finished caring for the child, she turned to Jack and bowed deeply. Then she activated a translation sphere and spoke clearly. "You saved her. I owe you more than life." Jack waved his hand. "You don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would do." The woman shook her head. "No, not on this world." Jack leaned back and exhaled. What happened to her? What made her sick? The woman sat across from him. "Our kind is dying. We were driven far from the cities. Few of us remain. My daughter is one of the last born with rare blood. No one in our tribe could save her. But your blood was perfect." Jack looked down at the bandage on his arm. "I didn't know that was possible. It is rare," she said softly, "but it means something sacred to my people." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" The woman stood slowly. Her expression was calm, but her voice carried weight. "Among my kind, when someone saves a dying child with their own blood, they become family. They are bound." Jack blinked. "Bound? You mean adopted?" She shook her head. "More than that. It is a life debt, a joining, a blood promise." Jack felt a knot in his stomach. "Wait, are you saying I'm supposed to marry you or something?" She looked at him, serious. "You saved her with your body. That bond is sacred. In our ways, I must now offer you a place in my house, a bond, a future. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. That's a lot. I didn't know I was agreeing to that when I helped. The woman stepped forward. You did not know, so I will not force. But now that you do, I must ask, will you accept the bond? Jack looked over at the sleeping child, now breathing, easily. He looked back at the mother whose eyes held more than gratitude. They held ancient belief and genuine sincerity. He didn't answer. Not yet, but he knew this wasn't over. Jack sat quietly in the small shelter, his mind racing. The woman, Valari, as she finally told him, watched him carefully. The soft sounds of her child's breathing filled the room. Jack felt a strange mix of emotions, confusion, responsibility, and curiosity. Valari's people had a culture very different from his own. For them, saving a child's life was not just an act of kindness, it was a sacred bond that could change lives forever. Jack had never imagined something like this before. Next morning, Valari led Jack deeper into the forest, away from the wreckage of his ship. The trees here were taller, with leaves shimmering faintly in the dim sunlight. Birds with feathers like glass sang above. Jack followed quietly, watching the world around him. After about an hour, they reached a small village hidden in a deep valley. It was built into the rocky cliffs with homes carved from stone and covered in vines. Valari's people moved cautiously, but their eyes softened when they saw her child awake and healthy again. Jack noticed something else. Many of the villagers looked tired and worried. Some had scars or missing limbs. It was clear their world had seen hard times. Valari introduced Jack to the village leader, an older woman with silver blue skin and wise eyes. She bowed to Jack, but did not smile. You saved a life, the leader said through the translator. For that you carry a debt, one that must be honored. Jack nodded slowly. I want to help, but I don't understand what you expect from me. The leader's gaze was steady. You are not just a visitor here. You have become part of our story. The life pledge binds you. You must join our people fully or the debt remains unpaid. Jack swallowed hard. Join your people? What does that mean exactly? Valari stepped closer. It means we share blood and future. You must help us survive. Our numbers are small, and our genes weak. Your blood saved my daughter because it is rare and strong. Jack looked at Valari's daughter playing with other children nearby. I don't want to be forced into anything. I'm human. We choose our own paths. Valari's eyes showed respect and sadness. We do too, but our traditions guide us. When a life is saved by blood, the bond is sacred. It is not just about survival. It is about honor. Jack thought about his own world, where promises could be broken and loyalty often weak. Here, promises had power. Later, Jack was shown the village's medical center. It was simple but effective, with plants, machines, and healing pools. Scientists and healers worked together to help the sick, but Jack noticed many cases that looked hopeless. The village leader explained, Our species is slowly fading. Our children are few, and many are born weak. We need strong blood to continue. Jack's mind raced. Could human science help here? Could he find a way to save this people without losing his own freedom? That night, Jack sat outside looking at the stars. Valari joined him quietly, holding her daughter close. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, she said softly. But my people expect much from you. You have a choice to stay or leave, but the bond remains. Jack sighed. I want to help you all, but I need to understand everything first. This life debt, what it means in your world. Valari smiled faintly. It means trust. It means future. It means family. Jack looked at her, seeing not just an alien but a mother who loved her child fiercely. I'm not ready to say yes to marriage or anything like that, but I will stay a little longer. I want to see if I can help. Valari nodded. That is all I ask. Days passed and Jack worked with the healers, sharing human knowledge and learning about alien biology. He was amazed by their resilience. Valari's people were proud and strong despite their hardships. The village slowly accepted Jack. Children laughed near him. Hunters showed him how they tracked in the forest. Valari and Jack grew closer, their conversations more open, their trust growing. One evening, the village held a ceremony. They welcomed Jack with songs and gifts, recognizing him as a protector. Yet the weight of the life pledge still hung in the air. Valari pulled Jack aside. "You saved my daughter's life. Now my people expect the bond, not just as gratitude but as survival." Jack looked into her eyes. "I know. And I want to find a way that respects both our worlds. A way where I can help without losing myself." Valari smiled warmly. "That is the true strength of your kind. I believe together we can find that way." As Jack settled into this new life, he realized the challenge ahead: to honor the bond that saved a child, while shaping a future where two very different worlds could walk together, side by side as equals. Jack woke early that morning to the quiet hum of the village. The sky outside was a soft mix of pink and blue, and the air smelled fresh with dew and earth. Valari was already awake, tending to her daughter who smiled weakly from her small bed. Jack admired the calm strength in Valari's eyes. She was a mother willing to fight the whole world for her child. As Jack prepared for the day, he thought about the conversation he and Valari had the night before. The life pledge was more than a tradition. It was a serious bond that affected their whole future. But Jack was not ready to give up his freedom. He needed time to think. Valari approached him quietly. "Today the council will meet," she said softly. "They want to speak with you." Jack nodded. "I'm ready." The village council was held in a large stone circle surrounded by tall trees. Several elders, men and women with faces marked by age and experience, sat on carved seats. They looked at Jack with a mix of curiosity, respect, and expectation. The leader, an older woman named Shara, spoke first. "Jack, you saved a life precious to us. For that, you are honored. But you must understand, your blood is a treasure to our people. It means strength, hope, and survival." Jack took a deep breath. "I want to help your people, but I'm not from your world. I can't promise things you might expect. I am a free man." Shara's eyes narrowed slightly, but she nodded. "We do not wish to force you, but our customs are clear. When one saves a child's life with blood, they become linked forever. The bond is sacred. It is not just about the past. It is about the future of our people." Another elder, a tall man named Lauren, spoke next. "We understand your world, values choice, but our species faces extinction. Your bond is a chance to renew us, to bring strength back into our bloodline." Jack felt the weight of their words. "I don't want to harm your traditions, but I want to find a way that respects both our worlds. I can't just agree to something I don't understand." Valari stood beside him. "Jack saved my daughter when no one else could. That means everything to us. But I want him to choose, freely," the council murmured among themselves. Shara raised her hand. "We will give you time, but understand, the longer you wait, the more urgent our need becomes." After the council meeting, Jack and Valari walked through the village together. Children played nearby, laughing and chasing small animals. Hunters returned with fresh game, and the village hummed with life despite its struggles. Jack broke the silence. "Valari, tell me more about your people. How did you end up here, isolated like this?" Valari's eyes darkened slightly. "Long ago, we lived in large cities across this planet, but wars, disease, and loss forced us into hiding. Our numbers dwindled. We became scattered, fearful." Jack listened carefully. "And your child? Why is her blood so rare?" "Inbreeding and genetic decline," Valari said. "Our species has few strong lines left. My daughter carries a rare and healthy bloodline. That is why she was so sick. That is why your blood was the key." Jack shook his head. I want to help find a scientific way to fix this, to save your people without forcing bonds or traditions that might hurt anyone. Valari smiled gently. You have a human mind, creative and strong. That gives me hope. As days turned into weeks, Jack worked closely with the healers and scientists in the village. He shared human medical knowledge and studied alien biology. The challenges were many, but the progress was steady. Valari and Jack grew closer. They shared stories of their worlds, their fears, and their hopes. Jack learned about the deep respect Valari had for her people and their traditions, even if some seemed hard to accept. One afternoon, as they sat near a river, Valari asked quietly, Jack, do you fear our bond? Jack looked at her thoughtfully. I fear losing who I am, but I also respect what your bond means to you. Valari reached out and took his hand. The bond is not meant to trap. It is meant to connect, to protect, to build. Jack squeezed her hand gently. Then maybe we can build something new, something that honors both our worlds. But not everyone in the village agreed. A group of younger villagers had begun to watch Jack with suspicion. They whispered among themselves that a human might not fully understand or respect their ways. Some wanted Jack to accept the bond fully without delay. One night, Jack was confronted by two men from this group. You can't just come here and change everything, one said. You don't belong. Jack stood calmly. I'm here because I want to help, not to take or force. The men glared but stepped back when Valari appeared, standing tall between Jack and the crowd. Jack is not our enemy, she said firmly. He saved my daughter's life. That means more than anything. Her words held power. The crowd murmured and slowly dispersed. Later, Jack and Valari talked about the future. Our people need strength, Valari said, but they also need trust. They fear losing their ways. Jack nodded. I understand. Traditions are important, but so is freedom. Maybe the answer is to respect both. Valari smiled. That is why I asked you to stay, Jack, because I believe you can help us find a new way. Jack looked at the stars above. Then let's find that way, together. The morning sun cast a soft light over the village, bathing the stone homes in a warm glow. Jack sat quietly outside Valari's shelter, watching her daughter play with other children. The little girl's laughter was light and pure, a sound Jack had not heard in a long time. It filled him with hope. Valari joined him, her face calm but serious. The council will meet again today. They want your answer. Jack nodded slowly. He had spent many nights thinking about the bond, the life pledge, and the future he could have here. He was torn between the freedom he knew and the new responsibilities that had found him on this strange planet. I'm ready, he said quietly. The council gathered in the stone circle once more. This time, the mood was heavier. The elders looked at Jack with deep expectation. Valari stood by his side, her eyes steady. Shara, the leader, spoke first. Jack, the time has come. Will you accept the bond and join our people as family? Jack took a deep breath. I cannot make this decision lightly. I want to help your people and honor the debt I owe. But I also want it to be a choice, not just a duty, the council murmured. Shara raised her hand for silence. We understand your wish for choice. That is why we have brought you here, to offer you honor and respect, not chains. Jack looked around the circle, meeting the eyes of the elders. Then I ask this. Can we find a new way? One that honors your traditions, but also respects my freedom? Valari smiled softly. That is the path I hope for. Over the next days, Jack and Valari worked with the village healers and elders to create a plan. They would use science and tradition together. Jack shared human knowledge about genetics and medicine. Valari explained the importance of blood bonds and family. They proposed a new ceremony, not to force a bond, but to celebrate a partnership. It would symbolize respect and trust between two worlds. The life pledge would still be honored, but with freedom of choice at its heart. The council listened carefully. Some were hesitant, but most saw the wisdom in this new way. It was a chance to save their people without losing their soul. One evening, as the village prepared for the ceremony. Jack and Valari stood together under the stars. The air was cool and filled with the scent of flowers. "I never expected to find something like this," Jack said quietly. "A bond built on respect and choice." Valari smiled. "It is the strength of your kind, your ability to change and grow." Jack looked at her. "And I've come to respect your strength too. Your courage to face the future with hope." They stood close, the silence between them full of meaning. For the first time, Jack felt that he was not just a stranger on this world, but part of something greater. The day of the ceremony arrived. The village gathered in the stone circle, decorated with flowers and glowing softly in the morning light. The children were dressed in bright colors and the elders wore traditional robes. Jack wore a simple tunic given to him by Valari's people. He felt nervous but ready. Valari stepped forward and spoke to the crowd. "Today we honor the bond that saved my daughter's life, but we do so with respect and freedom. Jack is not here by force but by choice." Jack stepped forward and took Valari's hand. "I choose to stand with your people not because I must, but because I want to help, to protect, and to learn." The crowd cheered softly. The ceremony was simple but powerful, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. After the ceremony, Jack and Valari sat together by the river. Her daughter played nearby, safe and happy. "You made a difference," Valari said. "Not just for me, but for my people." Jack smiled. "You showed me the meaning of honor, and I hope we can build a future together, one that respects both our worlds." Valari nodded. "That is the greatest gift." But the journey was far from over. Some villagers still watched Jack with doubt. Old fears die slowly. Jack knew he must continue to earn their trust and prove that this new bond was real. He also knew that he had found a new home, one filled with challenges, but also with hope. Together, Jack and Valari prepared to face the future, united by choice, honor, and a promise to protect the life they both cherished. The village was calm as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Jack stood at the edge of the forest, watching the peaceful scene before him. Valari's daughter laughed nearby, playing with other children who had accepted her fully. It was a rare moment of happiness in a world that had seen much pain. Jack felt a deep sense of belonging he had never known before. He thought back to the day he found Valari and her daughter, desperate and alone. So much had changed since then. Inside the shelter, Valari was preparing a simple meal. Jack joined her, and they sat together, sharing food and quiet conversation. "I never imagined my life would turn like this," Jack said softly. "From a crash landing to becoming part of your people's story." Valari smiled, her eyes shining. "Life is full of surprises. Sometimes we find family where we least expect it." Jack reached out and took her hand. "You and your daughter have changed my world." Valari squeezed his hand gently. "And you have given us hope." In the days that followed, Jack and Valari worked side by side to build a better future for the village. They shared ideas and knowledge, combining human technology with Valari's people's wisdom. The new medical treatments they developed began to strengthen the children and heal the sick. The villagers watched with growing respect as Jack proved his commitment, not just through words, but through actions. The initial doubts faded, replaced by trust. One evening, as the village gathered around a large fire, Valari spoke to the crowd. "Jack came to us a stranger," she said, "but he stayed because he chose to. He saved my daughter's life and honored our bond, not out of duty but out of love and respect." The villagers nodded, their faces warm with approval. Jack stepped forward, his voice steady. "I did not come here to take or to change your traditions. I came to help, to learn, and to be part of something greater. Together we can face the future, stronger and united." The crowd cheered and Jack felt a deep pride. This was more than survival. It was a new beginning. Later that night, Jack and Valari walked beneath the stars. "I want you to know," Jack said, "that I choose you not because I have to, but because I want to. Valari smiled, her heart full. And I choose you. They stood close, the bond between them no longer a burden but a promise. In the months that followed, Valari's daughter grew stronger, thriving with the care and love of both Jack and her mother. The village's future looked brighter than it had in generations. Jack had found a home, a family, and a purpose. The bond that began with a life-saving gift of blood had blossomed into something far greater: love, trust, and hope.